That's good. All right, here we are. We're recording?
Yes.
Nice. It is April 8th, and we are here to read our daily Stoic entry for the first time and see if we can make some sense of it. So what?
8.
Thank you. April 8th. The cost of accepting counterfeits.
The cost of accepting counterfeits. Okay.
I wonder what thing they're talking about. Like counterfeit.
Like counterfeit,
what?
yeah.
Like, I'm going to guess it has something to do with it's like you thought that this was a valuable thing or it was going to fulfill you or really be meaningful to you, and then you got it and it felt really empty.
Right. And I would say that the value of accepting counterfeit is completely diminished when you realize that it is a counterfeit.
Oh, yeah.
There's not even a little value. There's zero value.
Well, yeah, if you get a counterfeit bill at the gas station, you can do zero things with it. And that way you can turn it into the police. Yeah. Okay, well, let's see what exactly they're talking about, these Stoic fools. Epictetus is going to lead us off with a quote. When it comes to money, where we feel our clear interest, we have an entire art where the tester uses many means to discover the worth. Just as we give great attention to judging things that might steer us badly. But when it comes to our own ruling principle, we yawn and doze off, accepting any appearance that flashes by without counting the cost. Okay. Here we get into this Stoic vocab of ruling principle. I don't know if this is something just Epictetus is using in his discourses, how Francis has the saying consciousness is whatever is hearing these words right now, and that's sort of his own branded phrase of what consciousness means. I don't know if ruling principle is something that's just distinct to Epictetus, or if this is other people have carried that phrasing forward.
You're thinking it's a booklet of these rules where you can just read them somewhere, and there might be, but
well, this seems like it's not talking about principle.
Or they're your own principles, kind of.
Yeah, but this seems like something that has some sort of willpower behind it. It's not a code that you're living by,
force.
Yeah, this is the thing inside of us that decides what's right and wrong, or do I look at the situation like this or like this? When the optometrist is putting those things on, it's is it A or B? Is it A or B? And there's something in you that recognizes, oh, it's A, now it's B, now it's A. I think that's essentially what he's pointing to in here. And then he's saying that instead of it being the optometrist, things that they're putting in front of you, it's the thoughts that are going through your head. And so you have these thoughts going through your head, and you have a ruling principle that is capable of looking at those thoughts and deciding this one's junk, this one's true, this one's almost true, but we don't have enough information to know this for sure. So let's not grab onto this with all our might. And that with that thing, we yawn and doze off, accepting any appearance. By that I think impression, a thought or perception or something like that. So we accept any appearance that flashes by without counting the cost. So there is a cost to me seeing the situation like this and like this. And I'm not even used to thinking about it like that. But there's definitely a cost to it. And value. Yeah, there's a
value that it can be realized or not realized, and that's the cost or something. Yeah. The cost is what it costs you.
What it costs me, because if I choose to wake up and see the world as this bitter, place without possibility, that costs me something.
That costs you the possibility, the potential possibility that could be in front of you, and you will reject it because you already woke up with this mindset that,
exactly.
There are no opportunities,
right,
or something. Yeah.
And so he's saying like, hey, look at how good we are at evaluating the worth of something in dollars.
Like money, or I heard it in that way, like look how much attention you pay to dollars.
Yeah.
Every day, how much you make, how much you spend, how much you save, how much you invest, all of these things you constantly paying.
Yes.
And we're spending all this time with, like, seriously, like a lot of time thinking about dollars.
Yeah.
And then, but this, we rarely go there, right? And so, and he's essentially saying like, well, your dollars, your potential value that you can potentially make with dollars or make dollars from is actually locked over there in that thing you're not paying attention to. Because if you pay attention to that and you shift the mind like, hey, there are other opportunities, now you do have the opportunities that result into more dollars, but you are just focused on these dollars for some reason,
Well, no one taught you this other stuff.
No, this is in my opinion withhold. Like they purposely don't teach us this. It's the information's out there, but it's up to you to go find it.
Well, right. But this information is from ancient Greece and Rome, and so it's like, if we didn't have the internet, if we didn't have this kind, would Ryan Holiday have found Marcus Aurelius's meditations, and would he then have funneled it into the Daily Stoic and like brought this to us? Because what's interesting is I learned a little bit about the history of Stoicism, and it first like kind of arose initially in a culture where Alexander the Great had just conquered this culture. And so this was like a time of upheaval and a lot of change and like revolution during that time. And so the first person who kind of codified Stoicism, who's not in this book, Ryan doesn't feature his work. I don't even know what work of his is left. Like I was trying to figure out the lineage and then just got down a rabbit hole of names and dates and got myself confused. But initially this came out of a period of like, wow, this is so chaotic and so crazy out here that we need to take control over what we actually have control over, which is like our perceptions and our thoughts and all of this kind of stuff, so that we can even survive in this chaos, in this external chaos. And so why did I bring this up? I brought this up for a reason. You're giving me this blank stare.
No, I'm listening.
Because you were talking about like nobody taught this to us, and it's like, yeah, because like nobody taught this to us, nobody taught them. And then I think this like becomes relevant in like certain times, like in certain eras, and like maybe this era is like particularly well suited for something like this because it feels similarly chaotic. And so now we're sort of moving our human evolution forward by kind of like recalling this and bringing this back in and being like, wait, this is important for our times. So I don't know. That was like a little like bookmark over here, but I've been thinking about that for a while since I started having ChatGPT like tell me things about where Stoicism came from. What else do you have on the quote before we look at what Ryan says?
That's it, I guess. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's read the Ryan quote. Yeah?
Okay. So here's what Ryan says. When coins were much more rudimentary, people had to spend a lot of time testing them to confirm the currency they just received was genuine. The Greek word dokimazin means to assay or check the quality of a mineral ore. Merchants were often skilled enough that they could test coinage by throwing it against a hard surface and listen to the note it rang. Even today, though, if someone were to hand you a $100 bill, you might rub it between your fingers or hold it up to the light just to confirm it wasn't a fake. All this for an imaginary currency, an invention of society. The point of this metaphor is to highlight how much effort we put into making sure money is real, whereas we accept potentially life-changing thoughts or assumptions without so much as a question. One ironic assumption along these lines, that having a lot of money makes you wealthy, or that because a lot of people believe something, it must be true. Really, we should be testing these notions as vigilantly as a money changer. For, as Epictetus reminds us, the first and greatest task of the philosopher is to test and separate appearances and to act on nothing that is untested. Ooh, he snuck us a second Epictetus quote in there. The first and greatest task of the philosopher is to test and separate appearances and to act on nothing that is untested.
Yeah, so it's like that's exactly right. Like not instead of thinking about money, because you also want to do that, but also applying that similar mechanism to like how you question yourself and what you accept and not accept based on its validity or fakery, you know. And if you don't know, if somebody's offering you something you don't know and you can't test it, then you have to reject it, because you can say, well, then I'm not testing anything. Then I'm just accepting anything, right? You know what I mean? Like I have to test it all, or then I'm just rolling dice.
Sure. Yeah. What did you mean by like if somebody hands you something? Like you mean like if like they were, you mean it like, yeah, what do you mean
idea.
by that? Oh, I see.
Or their beliefs, their way of how I should be doing certain things. So now do I take it? I could take it, but I need to first test it and verify that thing that they're offering to me is something that actually fits and it's working and it's valuable in here, versus they might try to mislead me because they don't know, but they're arrogant, thinking that they do know, and now I'm following some arrogant person doing all that stuff because I never tested it or I never verified it or something. So it's like kind of a trust by verify, like do take it, but then check it, make sure the coin is really gold in some way.
Yeah.
Even if it's maybe as silly as throwing it against the ground to listen for sound, that's not very accurate testing, right? Someone could fake some other metals, painted some color and make it that sound and could still counterfeit. But it's like we do some testing. Whatever is available, we test, and we should test it, right?
And what's interesting
Even
is
though
like,
it might not be completely accurate, we might still
sure.
fakery still might come through. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Fakery may still come through for sure. And come through, it's like really like the barrier it's coming through is my mind. And so really what he's talking about testing are thoughts.
Yeah.
And like the validity of thoughts, and where that gets tricky is so many times thoughts kind of enter the system without the recognition that they're entering the system. And by the time I become aware of them, they've already almost like happened. You know, it's almost like the thought happens first and my attention is like running after the thought or coming in after the thought. And so it's almost like the experience of like, wait, slow down. I don't know if you're true yet. Don't make me say this thing in a meeting. I don't know if you're true yet. Like, don't make me do this thing. I don't know if this is like the right way of seeing something. And so the actual experience as I'm going through life is kind of in that way. Yeah.
It's interesting because I was just laughing because like like no one will hand you counterfeit and then try to be slow about it. The entire interaction feels very fast with somebody who has a, like, now going back to like money exchange, like that, you want to get away with it as fast as possible, right? So there's this fast movement, like, here's the money, okay, thank you, okay, goodbye, I'm just disappearing fast, versus there's no like, hey, hold on, let's talk, where are you from? The person who's handing you the counterfeits, like they're nervous, now they don't wanna be, right? And so this is similar, like, hey, what can you do with it? Well, the fast ones, they're trying to come, yeah, it's like this is what it is, this is how it is, oh yeah, that's totally how it is, like, oh well, that's so fast that's probably trying to give me something that is, I should be checking or something. The speed could be the tell of like, there's something stinks over here. Yeah. It's too fast or something.
Well, what's interesting too is that like then you get like, there's a lot of spiritual books that are written in the form of a dialogue between a teacher and a student. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking right now of the book The Courage to Be Disliked. Mm-hmm. And that's this dialogue, and he lets this kid have like all of like the kind of shitty, annoying questions and like objections to this way of yeah but type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like very patient with like, well, yes, and now I'll help you understand it from this angle, and I'll help you resolve this contradiction that you seem to see here, and all of that kind of stuff. And he's very patient with it, and it takes a long time actually to arrive at the thing that's actually true. And so on the other end of that, you have like headlines in a newspaper or something like that that's just like here and gone, and like sometimes there's a stickiness to that kind of stuff.
You remember it, now you're like using it with others, you're telling others, hey, you know what I read? And what I read is the name of the headline, and now I'm telling you all kinds of things about it.
Right. Or like you're talking to somebody who like has like this kind of know-it-all vibe or energy to them or something, and then they can't handle like a question into what they're talking about because they haven't tapped underneath the surface either. So there's a lot of blind spots and gaps in their thinking, and like they don't want to be confronted with that. And so it's just like, all right, I'm gonna like, you know, either I'm gonna be honest with you about like how this doesn't make sense, or I'm just gonna pretend like this makes sense so I can survive this interaction and like then limit my exposure to you in the future. But yeah, there is something to like that slowness, like when you're evaluating something for the truth, and it doesn't come all at once either, it's piecemeal. And so like to also like be okay with that and to accept that as the process for things, because sometimes like I want my growth to be, you know, this like very exponential, instantaneous kind of thing.
Sometimes what's also cool that what comes is like this new way of thinking about it, and then but with it, what's attached with it is that, hey, oh, now there's this other way of looking at it, therefore even this one might not be the right one. But it's a different one than this one. But on this one, I thought that this is 100% the one. And then I like went to look more, and now there's another one. But now I'm not saying it's not this one done. It's now this one. No, it's this one and then this one. And with the attachment of, it's neither this one or that one. It could be another one yet, and thousands other ones.
Yeah.
Like it just gets this more... less rigorous of like, it's just like this, it's only like this. No, it's not only like that. It's only like that from your perspective, but it's not the only way, because there are others. Right? And so it's more of that.
Yeah. The truth is more nuanced, and it's more inclusive of all of the different viewpoints, all of the different experiences. And it takes a while to like see all of that, or like to just like become sensitive to all of that information, because there's really no boundary to that information. Like in the sense of like when you're collecting something to create a viewpoint, on something, like ultimately, like I'm collecting data on like these flowers that I'm looking at outside the window, but those flowers are connected then to the air particles and the sky and the solar system and all of this. Like literally the information is infinite, and I will never be able to possibly collect enough of it to be sure about my viewpoint on any of it. And that's like that feels good actually.
Yeah.
It feels like a burden is like kind of falling, because like now I don't need to be the one who knows shit.
Yeah, no.
I can just be the one who's collecting data.
It's so nice to not be burdened with the responsibility that I have to know something. That's so much. That's so much. And who puts this on us? No one, just us. We put it on ourselves. No, everyone out there knows that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I might think I'm the smartest guy in the room, and now I'm carrying this thing, artificially created this burden of like, oh, now every room I walk in, I have to pretend to be the smartest guy. This is this pretending thing, and now I'm carrying this. Well,
you don't, and you don't feel it as a weight, though.
And on top of it, everyone sees it.
Right. So but the thing is like you don't feel it as a burden a lot of times when you're in it. No, sometimes it just feels like I am this person. It's like this ego, and it's I am this person. I have this knowledge. It's special knowledge because I've been the one collecting it my entire life, and nobody has this variety of knowledge that I have, and it is very special, and I must protect it, and I must then share it in a dignified way, in a way that respects how intelligent I am.
But all I'm trying to do is just fit in. Really. Right? Isn't it? Like, why is anybody trying to impress somebody else?
Because we're insecure.
Because they want to be friends. And they want to be like, wow, you're so smart. You're my best friend, right? Like that's because we experienced
it's sweet.
It,
it's
right?
coming
it's
from a sweet place.
Yeah,
like we are insecure and we belong to each other, and we are just looking for a place to fit in.
Yeah.
But the thing that's causing us to do that are these unevaluated thoughts, perceptions, assumptions that we just let come in and become our identity and become our ego. And that's the part of us that's actually false. Like that's the part that needs to be called out, because it is actually keeping us disconnected from each other.
You're not actually finding friends. You're finding people who are like saying things like, that guy's weird.
Who say different things behind your back than they do to your face. You're seeing people who are playing into status and power, so you're never really getting like a true sense of how they feel connected to you. Yeah, it's like, it's not what we want.
And at the same time, so difficult to just let yourself be yourself. It's like, because you might not, you thinking of like, I'm not going to be accepted for...
I don't think you even know how to be
yourself. You don't even know how, because we're constantly practicing and training of how to fake it till you make it. Right. It's so great.
That's interesting. It's like really, it's these thoughts, and it's these thoughts about I am ... Like those are the thoughts that need to be evaluated for their truthiness. And also like, or like the world is ... Or this other person is ... Anything I try to say, I know what something is, it's this, fuck that thought, potentially. Don't fuck it right away. Let it come in. Evaluate, and most likely fuck that thought.
Okay, that's one way to look at it. That's what I heard. What you were saying, like I am ... and like that is ... and it's like there's a like the Ramana Maharshi. What is it? Is that non-duality? Is he non-duality guy? Or
I think so. I think he's Advaita Vedanta, which is non-duality in Sanskrit.
Yeah. So he's like, he's essentially saying like somewhere I was listening to him because there was this thing of like I am.
Yes, he was big into.
He's just saying like I am.
What he was big into the what am I question, or who am I?
Who am I? And then the answer is I am.
No ...
No dots.
Right.
There is nothing behind it, and then that it might get me thinking of like you can also think of it as like, that is
nothing. No dot.
But what you said is a very truthful thing, because that is.
Yes.
I'm experiencing this thing, that thing is. What is it? I don't know.
I want to say it's disgusto barfo.
Whatever you want to say about it, but those will be the dots, right? So it's like
exactly.
You could potentially like have fun with this and like stop yourself and say like I'm so. That's already too much. The so is already too much. Like I am, and you want to say something like I am, and like that's really what I can say about myself. Nothing. I can't say anything. Anything past the I am is already kind of made up, and it's like an opinion, and it's not really. It can never really be true and verified. It's very, very strange. But I am. It is like, well, I hear something now, so I have this I-ness or whatever, the I amness, right? Like there is something here.
The
right?
existence.
The existence is, but what is the existence? Those are the dots. That I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, no descriptor is accurate. Yeah. I would see something like I am hungry. And I could maybe translate that into something like I am experiencing a need for food or something like that. That like kind of preserves that sort of distance from qualifying I am with like something final, but also like leaves space to recognize that like there is a human body here with like that is configured in a particular way with a particular set of needs, which is I think like where I always feel a little bit of a rub with the non-duality stuff is because it's so like philosophical into like the I am essentially part of this undistinguishable mass of everything at the end of the day, but also I wake up in the morning in a human body. So I really like what you just said, and I'm also like finding that like another way of looking at it with my human body of like, well, I may also experience some needs that need to get met, and that is also a legitimate thing to
very legitimate
say and act on and all of that. So it's like more so like I am like a descriptor, like, you know, like this bad, ugly, even a noun of like I am a yoga teacher, I'm a project manager, you know, any of that.
And that's not to say don't like I shouldn't be. From now on, I just walk around and I say I am, and I don't say anything. Like no. It's like a game that you can play when it's not weird with others or something, right?
Yeah.
Like don't do this in the meeting. but you can maybe say something in the meeting, and like you can say, hey, I was thinking, and now you say a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting that I am thinking, and now I'm sharing these thoughts with these people as if this is like how it is or how accurate it is. Like you can think of it afterwards and not to do it, but just say, oh wow, that's interesting that's how I vocalized all of those things. That, you know, like, wow, of course I'm a human person, so I have to be talking to people in the meeting, but it's also before or after or whenever you can have these games with it and saying like, wow, I was so sure that I am that thing that I said. I was so sure as it was coming out of me. I was like, that is absolutely that. But is it really that? Right. So that's the game. The asking of is it really the dot the way I'm thinking about it or something.
Yeah, let's see if we can let's see if we notice ourselves putting this stuff to practice.
Yeah.
Because we have noticed a few times, and maybe tomorrow we can talk about some of the things that we've noticed from that time. But now we've been doing this for, you know, a little over a month. So we have like enough repetitions under our belt of like kind of, I'm starting to like feel the vibe of this whole thing. Like, I get it. Like I kind of get what this is all about. And it would be cool to like emerge from this whole year-long process with a set of tools that like feel like very
like
homegrown.
That's the value that you pulled out of the book, and now you have like maybe you have only 5
tools or something.
But those might be like the ones that you really, because you started using them, they will become the thing that you be like, oh my god, this is so amazing. And so far I've only had like a 2, like, to be completely honest. I maybe had like only a couple days ago I was like, okay, I might run into some assholes today someplace, like, get ready for this. So I did that, right? And then I was noticing that on the road, like, oh, people are this guy's so, like, why it's 45 here, he's going, or like it's like 50 and he's going like a 42, right? And then there's other cars behind him and other cars behind him, and everyone's like this nervous energy of like, come on guy, move away, move out of the way. And it's just like and then really it was very quickly I'm like, oh, that's one of those guys who could create this thing inside of me to like, I'm like, okay, cool, he's just probably some older dude and he just needs to get to where he's going and everything is fine. The second I say this to myself, calm, I don't care, now I can be behind him going 40 miles an hour for 2 hours, right? But if I don't go through that process, now I'm like, white knuckles over there.
Yeah, like the preparing yourself for assholes one is a cool one.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's so far that's been like the,
because then even top. Like you're almost thankful when the asshole you run into is just the guy who's going slow, because like he's not doing anything bad. Like really that's like gonna make a fucking impact.
But I think of it as
but that. But then immediately, because I was there with you at that time and we had this chuckle, because like I was like, oh well, thank God this is the asshole.
Yeah.
Like actually, yes, send me this asshole, like this is the one I want to deal with, and like not some other one who's just gonna be like, you know, fucking like your identity got stolen and they overdrew your bank account or fucking some shit, you know.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
But so that's good. Let's see, because we've talked about like some stuff for today, and so it would be cool to, this unbiased thought, man. Everything that goes through my head is a fucking biased thought. Yeah, let's see if we can pull out any tools from this. That's what I'm excited for.
Sweet.
Let's wrap it up.
Cool.